Hello, this is Matt.
Kosei.
Mark. Guillaume.
James. Mel.
Zach. This is David.
Terry here.
This is PSG Talking.
Le seul podcast sur le PSG en anglais.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of PSG Talking. Happy New Year. Hopefully everyone brought in the new year with family and friends. I know some of you are going to listen to this and be like, Ty, it's damn near February. I get it. This is my personal first episode of the year. This is my first time opportunity sitting down with the boys. So you're just going to have to deal with it and give me a pass. And if you don't, it's too bad. Keep listening. But in all seriousness, man, hope you guys are all doing well. Hopefully the holidays treated everyone well. You know, we're still in this pandemic, so health and safety above all. And, you know, no James today, so the Trident is missing one. Unfortunately, he is in the process of doing some adulting. He's in the process of moving, but we move regardless. But I am here with my boy John today. What's up, man? Happy New Year. Hope all is well. Happy Nay Day. You know, hopefully, you know, you're like me and you got a chance to watch the documentary and enjoy greatness. You know? All right, man. Listen, stuff to talk about. So,
Happy New Year, bro. I'm glad to be back. You know, unfortunately, our guy JC ain't here right now, but he'll be back with us soon. And yeah, glad to see you, man, and talk to you. Happy New Year. It's been a fast start to 2022, and been running around busy. So glad we get to slow down a little bit and chop it up about some football. So yeah, man, excited to chop it up with you about the Neymar doc and everything going on with PSG. So it's always something going on.
Yeah, for sure. And we're gonna hold the fort down for James today, and he'll be back next week. He already informed us. So,
Yes,
but yeah, let's go ahead and jump right in, man. I think, you know, there is one place to start, and it's the Neymar documentary, man. The partnership with Uninterrupted, with Bronze Studios, Maverick Carter, and you know, just the whole story, man. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm sure that there's going to be some mixed opinions. There are going to be people on the fence, but it was nice, you know, to actually see into Neymar's life, to see, you know, what he's been through, a lot of things that I knew, but just to hear from him and hear his dad and see that relationship on top of a lot of other things was just really enjoyable for me. You know, Neymar is one of my favorite players, so whenever you get a chance to really dive deep, right, and kind of peel back the curtain a little bit on one of your favorite athletes, it's always appreciated. I think you get a documentary like this, The Last Dance, and, you know, tons of others that I'm, you know, not even mentioning right now. The list goes on and on, but what were your initial thoughts, man? I know we spoke about it briefly. I had a chance to watch it opening the first day it dropped. I actually woke up for the gym super early, and I actually woke up at like 6 a.m. and turned it on, even connected. I had to watch on the big screen also, so my girlfriend was sleeping, and I had to connect my headphones via Bluetooth to the TV. That way I could watch it on the big screen and sit back on the couch while I, you know, kind of drank my my morning tea before my workout and stuff like that. And so it was enjoyable. But what were your takeaways?
Yeah, man, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a fascinating documentary, just from a storytelling standpoint of where Ney is in his career, and just gauging from what his take was in terms of why he wanted to do it. You know, obviously, I think it's pretty transparent why he wanted to do it, because the narrative of Neymar, if you're not a PSG fan or if you're not a Neymar fan, you probably have a tainted perspective or narrative of Ney in terms of how he carries himself on and off the pitch. But I thought that it's a lot to unpack as a PSG fan, because it talks about a lot of things, from the dynamic of the locker room in terms of how he felt with certain players, and how he felt about the club itself, and the relationship with the board, and how, you know, like the remontada, and how traumatizing that was to see again. And from his perspective, being that he was part of one of the architects, the architect for that match, and just listening to it from his perspective was was interesting. And I told you this in the chat where it was like that match is still traumatic today, and it's still stung watching it. But for the first time, I was able to watch those clips and almost appreciate what Barcelona actually did, or what Neymar actually did, right? Like just coming back from a 4-0 deficit in the Champions League, and what they were able to actually do was fascinating from a skill level and just a character and willing to win. But at the same time, it's traumatizing because you're a PSG fan and you know what that other side is and you know what that other thing is. And then, as you mentioned, like the refereeing and how much bullshit those calls were. So just a lot of it was very much interesting to watch. And like you said, it's some of the stuff we know. Like we know Neymar's a great guy. Like just as a human being, he's a good dude. But you know, there's some things that he does on the pitch that turn some people off. But if you're a true football fan, you're going to love this documentary. You're going to love watching the story of how the Barcelona transfer almost happened and how, you know, things almost fell out and where he wanted to leave PSG, and just watching the man that we enjoy to watch play football, sort of understand him from a human aspect and seeing his relationship with his father and his son. And so it was very fascinating. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I stayed up like super late to watch it, and I probably paid for. I definitely paid for it the next morning, but it was definitely worth the watch, and totally a lot to unpack for real.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I wrote down some notes, and I think the title itself, right, which was, look, I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I know it's chaos, right? But what was the perfect chaos, right?
And I think that
that really, you know, kind of describes Neymar as a whole, right? And I think some of the key parts that I took away, you know, outside of the stuff that whether you knew or didn't know, but right, like his trial for Real Madrid and the fact that he got the offer, but you know, he was homesick and he was young and he just wasn't ready. But the fact that they mentioned how good he was, right? He was better than everybody else, and it was night and day. You know, I don't care what anyone says, you know, and you saw all the other stars, right, from Beckham to Messi to Luis Suarez. If you, in my eyes, and this is a personal opinion, right, and there are some PSG fans that are like this, there are other fans. If you don't like Neymar as a football player, to me, you don't appreciate the game of football, or at least don't look at the game of football in the same lens or out of the same lens that I do, right? Some of my favorite players, Neymar, Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, right? That Samba style, that Brazilian style. For some people, that's not appreciated, right? They just want you to run. They just want you to tackle. They want you to be brute force, and they don't appreciate the entertainment of the game. So for me, this just reinforced how good of a player, when he is fully healthy, when he is in form, how good of a player Neymar is.
Yeah.
Reliving the you know, back injury against Colombia, you know, being knocked out, you know, of the World Cup, and then seeing his team, you know, Brazil, kind of destroyed and dismantled in a sense, right? You know, in their home nation, and what that did for that country. The feeling, you definitely got to relive that. One of the key things was his relationship with his dad and how it changed throughout his career. You know, that was deep. And one of the things that he said that really hit home, and when I was watching, I was like, damn, that was deep, is when he mentioned that, you know, him and his father used to be close, but, you know, as his career has continued and his father has really managed his career, they're really distant, and their relationship isn't the same, because his father has maintained and kind of had to, for better or for worse, and, you know, not partially, but fully, because of who Neymar is, right? Because of being the football player, but wanting to be the partier and stuff off the pitch, his dad running his foundation has really had to be that disciplinarian in a sense, right? And he, you know, he said in one sense, you know, I don't like you with me because I don't like the way you speak to people. I don't like how you want to start arguments with my friends, with my teammates, with my people in my circle and stuff like that. So, and he blatantly said, like, you know, we're very distant. The relationship we used to have isn't there anymore. You know, that father-son, now it's more business. You know, it's a manager and a player, right, and an employee. Yeah. You know, who you're consulting for, rather than that. Another one that was very interesting, and I think you kind of touched on it in the locker room dynamic, is when, you know, he first started talking about the move to PSG. And him, not only him, but him and Thiago Silva made comments about jealousy in the locker room and certain folks in the team who weren't happy that he was there and didn't like, the way he handled himself. And ironically enough, the documentary continued to show clips of who else? Eddie, right? Exactly. It continued to show clips of Cavani. So it reaffirmed what we all knew already, right? That there was tension there, that they didn't like each other. But we all know, right? You don't need to be best friends in order for a team to work. Sometimes having that, edge in a team is good. And then also the perfect chaos, talking about how he thrives in those moments, right? Like he really went into the fact of how he wanted to leave. He was open about it, which we all knew. But then he came to a point where he said, I need to make the best out of the situation. And that game against Strasbourg, right, where he was getting booed, and him and Thiago also talking about, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the reaction. I was stunned when I was on the pitch. I couldn't believe what they were saying. I couldn't believe they were booing me every time I touched the ball. I was getting booed. But he also then went on to say, whenever people are rooting against me, I believe in myself. I thrive in it. I know I can do it. And then he ended up scoring a bicycle kick. So a lot of interesting stuff. Listen, happy to have Neymar on my team. I do agree that if Neymar had the same work ethic, right, as a Messi or a Ronaldo, like where he would be. I do believe that we'll probably never see Neymar truly reach his true potential, but that's scary in itself, right? Like how good he is, how much he's done. And, he doesn't take it fully seriously, right? It's like the same argument that I've had with people about Verratti, right? Verratti is so good, but he smokes cigarettes apparently, and he goes to the club, and, so it's like, your team is so good, you have players that are so good, and then you have individuals like, him and Marco who just don't fully take it seriously. But when he is in the zone, when he is turned on, I mean, he's a world beater, bro. He is, he can't be touched. He's unplayable, essentially, So, no, but I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I'm glad that you had a chance to watch it. Would love to, if you're listening or you're tuned in, be sure to, at PSG Talk or at 24th and Park, and give us your thoughts on the documentary. Give us, your take on things you like, things you didn't like, right? What didn't you know about Neymar that you learned, or what maybe did you have a misconception of? And that's one thing I think he hopes comes out of this, and people that are his friends and do know him, is that people maybe look at him in a slightly different lens. You don't have to love him, but at least understand where he's coming from, in a sense. Kind of misunderstood at times.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think this documentary was sort of made to sort of humanize him a little bit, to show that he is a human. He has a child, and he has he just pulled up to his child's mother's crib. They're not together, but they still have that relationship. That's something I see with my homies and people that I'm around. That's normal, regular stuff. But you just don't think of things on that level when with such a global superstar. And I think it was fascinating. And I just wanted to touch on the point about his dad again, really quick. I think it's interesting because Neymar's thoughts of his dad is that, just like any son who wants that freedom, it's like, yo, you blocking my whole thing I'm trying to do over here, not knowing that thing is what's protecting you. And I think that's the point that his dad was trying to express the whole time, is maybe if you did stick around me, that rape allegation, maybe it wouldn't have happened, right? And he also mentioned about whenever he wanted to go back to Barcelona, he was like, no, you can't go back to Barcelona because you chose this. You took the risk and wanted to leave Barca in the first place to come to PSG. You got to ride this out. You got to ride this storm out. They booing you and stuff, but you got to. So it's that fatherly figure in his life that, it's very important to him, and he's literally protecting him from everything. This man literally built a company dedicated to protecting this man's image and brand. And I think that's fascinating within itself. So it was an interesting dynamic with him and his father, and just that being the underlying story throughout the whole way. And then also the whole Kobe thing. I feel like there was I was
just going to mention that.
Yeah, that was. I feel like from what it seemed like, they filmed that whenever he's sitting on the bed with the Kobe jersey. I think they filmed that on the day of Kobe's memorial. And at least that's what it seemed like to me. And just like that underlying theme of what he was saying was after he found out about Kobe, there was a switch. And then they talked about how he went into like beast mode during COVID when everybody had to go back home. And Thiago Silva said he came back looking scary. Like they was like, we don't even recognize who this guy, like what's he been doing? And then that was when we went on that run to the Champions League final. And that's when Neymar was playing at a different level. Didn't score the goals that we wanted at the end, but you can see that was peak Neymar. So yeah, it's fascinating, man. I think anybody who's a true football fan, no matter how you feel about Neymar, you're gonna enjoy this doc just from a very fan level of the game. You know, we all love this game, and yeah, I'm always down for football documentaries, especially when it's a gangster player like Neymar.
Yeah, for sure. And I have the quote here actually in front of me, but you hit it, the nail on the head. Basically, he said he had just been in Paris and we had just done a shoot together. To me, that shoot was one of the best moments that I had with someone who was an idol to me, an icon, a legend. He wasn't just another guy. He wasn't like anyone else. He left a true legacy. It was such an awful moment. Sometimes it's hard for me to talk about things like my behavior and address that. I get embarrassed about it, but everything changed that day. So, he felt like, you know what, I need to leave my own legacy. And he, like you said, right, he worked hard to come back from that injury. He essentially was like, I'm not going to apologize for my behavior. And I love in the documentary where he says, oh, you don't like me? You don't like my behavior? I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you like me or not. Like,
exactly.
And then one of the best things was like when he scored the PK, right, in the Olympics.
Yeah.
I love that shit, right? Like talking your shit, bro. Like, and he was like, because they had given him shit. Oh, he doesn't love Brazil. He's selfish. He doesn't care about the team. And then he plays phenomenal in the Olympics. He wins Brazil their first gold medal, hits a clutch PK. And the reporter asks him, how he's feeling. And he's like, I guess you guys have to just deal with me now.
Deal with me. Yeah.
Yeah, deal with me, dog. That's it. Deal with my antics, because when it's time to come on the pitch, I'm ready. And that's one thing I'll say about Neymar, man. Like, hate him or love him, obviously, yes, players have, ups and downs in form, but when he's on it, whether he was out partying the night before or whatever it is, he shows up.
Yeah, for sure.
He shows up, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Another documentary that's really good, if you haven't checked it out, is the Maradona one on HBO. Also good.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Perfect. All right, so moving along, we did have a game this past weekend, PSG versus Reims, PSG 4, Reims 0. Lethargic first half, as we've said in the past, right? More of the same. Some key takeaways. Ramos got his first goal. Messi returns for a few minutes. Nice to see him on the pitch. Verratti scores twice. I hope he goes and plays the lotto. And then there was a change, right? There was a change in the second half.
Yeah.
I want to touch a little bit on the youth players, but just kind of getting your initial take on just the performance you saw, key takeaways, negatives, positives. Just let me know what you think.
Yeah, honestly, I enjoyed that game. That was one of the first PSG matches where I actually enjoyed watching it, particularly after like the first half, because the first half was a dud, and that's kind of been the trend with this Pochettino side. And they were just like, man, like, even with the turn of the calendar, like even with the break, they're still playing the same unidentified football, with the lack of sense of urgency and all that stuff. But something switched in the second half, and they started pushing it. And obviously Mbappé was one of the one of the architects in that, as well as Marco Verratti playing so high up the pitch. I thought that really changed the dynamic of the match, and they started pressing more, and they started pressing and going forward. And for me, my key takeaway is actually Mauro Icardi. I know how people feel about Mauro, and however you feel about him, feel how you feel. Him being in the lineup opens up so much for Mbappé, but also Mbappé doesn't seem to want to pass him the ball at times, and I'm noticing there's a little thing between them two where
he be getting hot, boy.
Dog,
Mauro be getting hot. You seen it? He be throwing his hands up like, my man, come on, dog.
And you can see when he doesn't want to run. You can see there's space open for Mauro Icardi to make a run, and he won't make it. And I feel him, because it's like, yo, when I do make the run, you don't pass me the ball, so I'm not about to do it now. But I also think Mauro Icardi, being that point of reference as that true nine, is who opened up most of those scoring opportunities. You look at Verratti's first goal. Yeah, Icardi, his shot got blocked, but him occupying that space when the ball was free, Verratti took the chance and he scored it. But I think what he's been able to bring during Messi's absence, during Neymar's absence, and we've been seeing who's been taking or getting most of the credit has been Mbappé, but I think it's also because Icardi has been occupying that space and giving him and Di Maria's space to do what they do in the wings. I thought Danilo played great. He came in, he was solid. He got a goal, which is always good to see for like a workhorse like him, and always good to see him rewarded for a goal. And seeing Marco Verratti score, man, is just kind of one of those things. Like you said, you got to play the lottery when you see that, because that's something that rarely ever happens. And he always talks about it. His mentality is pass first. So, but just from a team standpoint, I thought it was good to see Ramos. He played solid. But yeah, it was good to see us play fluid football, and especially when Messi came on. Right away, he brought in some energy and a different dynamic to the team. So it was the first match that I actually really enjoyed to watch, just from a spectator standpoint, because it's really been kind of depressing, even though we've been winning some of the games. But it hasn't been really fun to watch that many PSG games this season. But this was one of those where it's like, all right, they handle their business and we move on, and everything from this point forward is just preparation for Real Madrid.
Yeah, I don't really have, too much else. I think the Icardi thing's interesting, right? Because if if Ney's healthy, unless Poch has the balls to not play, one of them, you're gonna lose either Mauro or Di Maria, right? Whether it's the right formation or not, you can't have a player like Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar and at least not start them. You can change. We've seen Poch take one of them off to put Icardi on with time left, but PSG will always start the game with those three. The only way that I could see us playing them all is if Poch was to go with like a 4-4-2, like Tuchel used to play, and playing a dual strike partnership up top, Mbappe and Icardi with Messi and Ney on the wings, but it still wouldn't work, I don't think, because I don't think Messi makes sense on the wings. I just don't think he has that pace anymore. Yeah. But, Icardi can play poorly, but the bottom line is that he occupies space, right? And that's what's important. So I've always said that I think PSG need to play Icardi more. While I don't think that he's the ideal fit, there are other strikers I think would add more that don't, aren't a detriment to the counterattack. I just think you need a number 9 to occupy that space to, I think Mbappe is better on the wing. There's been this push, I don't know if it's from him or who it's from, to make, Mbappe a number 9. Maybe that's where he wants to go in his career. So he feels like, he should play that here. That way he can go to Madrid and play that. I'm not sure, but I think he's utilized at his best and peak, on the wing. Yeah. The midfield played well. I think you're going to have a lot of folks who are on the fence about this game. They're going to see the first 44 minutes until Marco scored and say, hey, it was more of the same. And I do agree. There have been a lot of games that aren't enjoyable to watch, and it's just like lethargic play and nothing impressive. And to be honest, I do think it was more the same. And this is kind of like a, what's the saying? Not he said, she said, but basically, a situation where it's like, okay, well, if Mauro doesn't score or get a lucky bounce, then we're in the same spot. Yeah, I do believe that's true. I do believe Mauro scoring that first goal definitely threw a wrench in Reims' plans, and the coach had to come up and press up a little bit. We did get 2 lucky bounces, but while it wasn't the best performance, it was nice to see them put 4 goals, in the net. And I do think that this was better than things in the past. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't the sexiest win, but there were improvements made, right? I think Ramos was a steady ship in the back. I love the partnership between him and Marquinhos.
Yeah.
I think that's something I want to see more, hopefully. I think we have, what do we have coming up? Let me look at the league table and the upcoming matches that we have. So fixtures, what do we got? I know we have a cup match coming up, right? So we play Nice on Monday, and then we play Lille, and then we play Rennes. So I believe the Nice match is a Coupe de France match, and then Lille and Rennes are both league matches. I would assume a lot of youth players will play in that Coupe de France match. So we really have 2 more games. I would love to see if Ramos can play a full 90 against Lille, and then maybe play, a half against, Rennes. Mm-hmm. But we'll see, and I think outside of that, man, I think it was an overall good performance. Good to see, Messi get some minutes. Good to see Draxler get some minutes again, and see him kind of shake off the rust. And it's just prep time, right? That's all we're doing. This is maintenance. This is prep. One thing I want to get your opinion on, and I think I actually had a pretty strong opinion on this, was when I logged into Twitter, you saw a lot of folks who, and you may feel this way, right? So, and feel free to let me know. I want to get your opinion. A lot of folks were of the mindset of, oh, it's the 60th minute. We're up 2-0 or 3-0, whatever it was at that time, playing against a team that's in the lower half, and we still have this midfield of Danilo and Herrera and whoever else we had on. And folks were pretty upset that we didn't bring on the youth players. And I'm kind of worried about that, right? So I feel like, I think we're getting into a place now where some of the fan base expects to see Xavi and Michoud and these other people every game. I don't think we should be in that spot personally. Now, would I love to see them in as many games as possible? Yes, but I think we also have to be realistic. Like I just mentioned, right? You have 1 cup match, which they'll probably play in, and then you have 2 league matches. If those 2 league matches, they don't get any minutes, don't be surprised. And the reason I said that on Twitter to some people is because you have 2 matches before Real Madrid. Xavi and Michoud are not playing against Real Madrid. Exactly. They're 100% not starting, and they may not see any minutes, right? So Poch has to get Herrera ramped up again. He has to get Draxler ramped up again. He has to get Danilo. He has to get Paredes, Verratti. You have to give minutes leading up to a Champions League match to the players who are going to play.
Exactly.
A couple weeks ago, these players have been getting a lot of minutes. So, I personally disagree. I think there is a time and place for everything. Once the Real Madrid leg passes, or even after that first leg passes, you have 3 weeks. They can play that first game, but you have to have the folks who you're going to be able to count on and who you're going to call upon need to have some minutes under the legs, and getting some of these folks like Draxler back to 90 minutes or 60 minutes, where he can give you what you need. But what was your take on some of just the youth players not playing, and maybe some of the things you saw or heard on social media, from fans about them not playing?
Yeah, I take your position on it, right? And I think that is the logical position. And I think if you don't take that position, you're not looking at this at a very grounded level. You're mad about something else, and you're choosing to make that your point of argument, because that's simply all it comes down to. Michoud and Xavi Simons are not going to play against Real Madrid, and that's just what it comes down to. So there's 2 factors to this. So Pochettino is potentially trying to save his job, right? So if he's going to die on any hill, he's going to die with putting the players with the experience on the pitch who he knows can do the job. Number 2, if I'm Michoud and Xavi, they've played, I think, I know Xavi Simons has consistently. I've seen him in at least 4 consecutive matches. If I'm an academy player, I'm stoked. I'm excited. Like, all right, I'm in here. I'm playing with the big names. I'm playing, and I'm getting important minutes, right? They're not just only playing in cup matches. They're getting important minutes. So from the youth players' perspective, they might not be getting the game time they want, but they're also not stupid, and they live in reality. They know that, hey, whatever minutes I'm going to get, I'm going to take it. So they're good. And from Pochettino's standpoint, his job is on the line. And like I said, if he's going to die on any hill, he's not going to die on the hill playing youth academy players. And then let's not forget, these are youth academy players. They haven't been promoted to the first team squad fully yet. They're still youth academy players, from my knowledge. So it's just like, yeah, this strictly comes down to preparation for Real Madrid and building a cohesiveness and a chemistry for the guys who are going to be on the pitch. It's not that difficult to understand. But again, I think the people who might feel the type of way about that is it comes down to how they feel about Poch, right? Like, what is that argument based off of? Why is Pochettino not playing Xavi Simons? Because you think Danilo's trash. Like, you might think Danilo's trash, but I don't know if people see something else. But Danilo is a very important player when we defend in the low block. He's very important in that instance, and I really think he had an excellent game, and he deserved that goal because for me it rewarded the work he did during that match. Players like Herrera, those are the guys that are going to get substituted on if Verratti's on a yellow card or if Verratti's hurt or Ganagay is hurt or tired. Those are the guys that are going to come into the game and finish those matches off. So that's who Pochettino is going to play. I think it's very black and white. And again, if you see it otherwise, I think it's because you have a narrative or you're pissed at the whole Pochettino thing. But yeah, you got to step aside from that and just look at this from a very logical standpoint. You know, it's preparation for the big game.
I think a lot of football fans, and this isn't exclusive to PSG, this is all fans in general. I think they think this is basically like playing a game of Football Manager. Right, this is easy, and you just plug and play. And no disrespect to Football Manager. Football Manager is a dope game. I play it. If you are someone who likes the tactics and likes being the manager or thinks you can, highly recommend you try it out. Football Manager, feel free to sponsor us. The PSG Talk. We appreciate it. But yeah, man, I think I agree. Right, I think a lot of this has to do with the ill will towards Poch in regards to the lineups and the way things are. Danilo is a funny story. I have roasted him at times, but I do believe that he has a time and place where he is effective. Yeah. I do think that he does add things. I think why people get on him is because he's not the most aesthetically pleasing player.
Yeah, he doesn't look
slow. He's a clumsy runner. Yeah, his passes aren't, he's not technically gifted, but he does a lot of the dirty work. And I think that's what PSG needs at times. They need individuals who are going to do the dirty work, who are going to do the running, who aren't going to complain, right? The Herreras. You look at teams like...
Especially when you have someone who everyone says they're not willing to track back. If you have a Neymar and Mbappé and a Messi who you're saying these guys don't track back, you got to have dogs in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, every team has it, right? You look at, obviously, like, I'm not going to say N'Golo Kante because he's World Cup winning, he's just a beast. But you look at teams like Liverpool, right? Like the James Milners and the Hendersons and stuff like that. Like, good teams have just workhorses in the middle of the fan base. They're the easy scapegoat, right? I see it a lot of times with Manchester United players with Fred. And I see a lot of Man U fans hating on Fred, but then you'll see some fans who are like, Fred's always a scapegoat. But whenever we play well and win, Fred's always an integral part. When we don't play well, it's always, why is Fred getting minutes? Why is this person getting minutes? So every team has it. But awesome, man. It was a good win. Not perfect, not terrible. We'll take it. Just trying to work on things, build momentum, and work our way. Hopefully, we can win out before Real Madrid and build that confidence. Messi gets back to 90 minutes. Ramos, all the individuals. It sounds like Donnarumma injury isn't serious at all. I think 2 days ago they were saying at that time that he was going to be back in 10 days. I saw Wijnaldum running again on the treadmill, so the ankle must not be too bad. I would expect to see him back before the Real Madrid game, or maybe just about. And then, most importantly, right, Neymar's back. Junior. Yeah. I'm going to start calling him Junior, like they were calling him in the documentary. I'm not even calling him Ney no more. It's Junior. That's it. Yeah. But he's back running, and him and his camp are confident that he'll be ready to go. Come that Real Madrid, it'll be interesting if he gets any game time. It'll be really interesting to see if he gets in that game against Rennes before, if he can get at least a half or 20 minutes, because I don't know if I start him if he doesn't get any time. I think if Poch can't get him in, this is just my personal opinion, remembering back to the Dortmund game and him not playing leading up to that one and how rusty he was. Yeah. If he's not 100% go, I think you play Di Maria.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
or Icardi or whatever, you find a solution. But I think Di Maria's been getting minutes. He's been looking good. And listen, right? Like you get Di Maria on a good day, he can do things that Nate does.
Absolutely.
So he's a metronome. He's a game changer. So you have options. Don't force it. Don't put us at a disadvantage by playing someone who's not ready. Hopefully he is, but if he's not, make the smart choice and play the team that makes the most sense and is going to give us the best chance to walk out of there with a win. So
Yeah.
awesome. Now, as we kind of wrap up here, transfer. We're in the middle of January, towards the end. We got about 3-4 days left of the January transfer window. PSG hasn't been that active, but we have a couple key players and prospects and moving pieces that we can touch on. I guess the most obvious one to start with is going to be Ndombele. Apparently I heard it was almost a done deal 2 days ago. Then it was not close to being a done deal because while PSG was open to taking on his full salary, we weren't able to thin the squad at all, or at least not enough to make a difference because we would most likely be taking on his full salary.
Yeah.
Want to get your opinion, your thoughts just on the player, the profile, and do you think he makes sense to bring in? Are you happy with that addition? How do you feel about PSG taking on the full salary? And Spurs don't want a player swap, but if there was anyone in the midfield that you would kind of sacrifice first to get rid of to make space for Ndombele, who would that be?
Yeah, I think for Ndombele, I think he's an interesting player because he gives me Pogba vibes a little bit in terms of how dynamic he is in his build and his stature. He's not really a defensive mid. He's more of an 8, and he can play an attacking mid. But let's not forget, before he went to Tottenham, he was like one of our number one targets. Like from a fan base, we all wanted Leon and Ndombele. That Ndombele from Leon, we was like, yo, he would fit perfectly into our midfield with Verratti and whoever else. And I think at this point it's just a case of need. If PSG feel that we need another player in that midfield role, you're saying that, i.e. Draxler, Paredes, Danilo aren't enough. I personally think that's not enough either. But is this the player that you're going to invest in now? Because we're also talking about adding Pogba possibly in the summer. So how's that going to work out? And I saw somewhere where Paredes was. They said Paredes didn't want to leave, and I'm looking at him like, bro, you're not getting game time now. So if he comes, that's your game time he's taking. So I don't think that makes sense. Like if I'm him, like I want to go play somewhere, but I get it. He wants to be with the gang and Messi and Di Maria and the Argentinian clan is there. But like if Ndombele comes, he's probably going to take Paredes' minutes, and for Paredes not wanting to be included in that swap is kind of wild to me because it's just like, if he comes, that's your minutes that's gone. But hey, whatever. But I do think that he would be a great addition to the team. I'm interested to see how just his style would fit with our midfield, and that's just kind of the unknown because it's everything with PSG right now is sort of just in that gray area and that unknown. But if he's the only one that we're targeting right now, and we're talking about taking on his salary, like I don't think it's a bad move because it's the only move that seems like us. Like you said, we got like what couple more days left in the transfer window. So if he's the only move we make, then yeah, just take that salary on. It's not that big of a hit in my personal opinion. So yeah, I would welcome it because I think he is a fascinating player who has the potential to get better. I don't think he's even reached his peak. He's had issues with coaching changes at Tottenham. He hasn't really found his footing, and Conte really is not playing him right now. So yeah, he would love to come back to Paris, to France and play. But the only thing I would have any hesitation on is the implications, right? Is it just a loan? Is it a loan to buy option, right? Like, because if it's to buy, that
option.
It has an option. Okay, so that and
it's not
that
an
also.
Obligation, though.
Okay. Well, but still, it's just like I'm pretty sure if he comes here and enjoys it, he's gonna want to stay. And then if he comes here and does well, we're gonna want him to stay. And what does that mean for our other targets that we have for the summer. So it's a lot of stuff that PSG have to consider. But I think if we're thinking short term, we're in a win now situation. Yeah, go for it. And again, from a financial standpoint, if it's about taking on his salary, it's not like you've made any other moves this summer. I mean, this transfer window. So yeah, that if that's the one thing to do, then yeah, go for it.
Yeah, according to Fabrizio, because obviously waking up this morning, this deal seemed like it was dying or on its last leg. But to end the night tonight, Fabrizio, one of his last tweets, Tottenham have been very clear with PSG on an Ndombele deal, no swap, no player swaps. Club is in advanced talks, or clubs now are in advanced talks over a loan move. Spurs want 100% of salary paid. Talks have intensified. All parties confident to reach an agreement soon. Not done or completed yet, but very close. So this seems like it will be completed, at least unless something is a dramatic turn, which I guess there was from yesterday. It's starting to sound like this will be done before the weekend.
Yeah.
Before the weekend's over. I'm hearing from Julian Laurens also that tomorrow's a key day. Clubs indeed moved closer, and optimism now has been beginning to grow from both sides. So it seems like we do take on the salary, and there will be an option to buy, and it won't be guaranteed. So I think the key part is this: is Poch, I believe, is a fan of Ndombele. I think that he went to Tottenham when Poch was there, so there's that connection with Poch. He obviously wants to come. He's French. He's great friends with Mbappé. He's great friends with Kimpembe. I think I read that Mbappé and Kimpembe called him when they heard the rumor and were like telling him to come and begging him. So, in the front office, you also add the speculation of, okay, does Neymar, Messi, he's French. We're bringing in someone that Mbappé wants. Mbappé has approved this. What impact does that have if things do go well this season, right? Does it maybe not a game changer, but is it a plus, right? It's an add, right, to have him here, and then maybe he says, I just got here, stay, like do one more year, do 2 more seasons, like whatever it may be. Right. But worst case scenario, you take him on. If it doesn't work, right, you send him back.
Yeah.
You send him back, and then you focus your efforts on Pogba. The big question would be if Poch does leave, like we all expect him to this summer, and he's a Poch guy, what does Zidane say, right? I'm sure if Zidane truly is coming, which that seems to be, the way the momentum is moving, just from what reports say, Zidane will be watching these matches and seeing, what he thinks. And in regards to the folks that don't want to leave, I do agree, right? It's the posh club in Paris paying the most money. I think one thing I realize about a lot of players is like a lot of like South American players don't have interest in playing in England. Like, it's just not a thing, right? It's like you want to come to La Liga first, or you have a lot of them in Liga. But I forgot who tweeted this or who the source was, so I won't say because I don't want to get it wrong. But it was a reliable source that said Paredes, Herrera, Gay, Danilo, and Gini Wijnaldum don't plan on leaving. Right? There was reports earlier that Gini potentially wanted to go back to England. Okay, now he doesn't. Now he's talking about he wants to fight for his place. Yeah. And side note on Gini, sucks that he got hurt, because that game that he got hurt in, I think, was the best game he's played.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's crazy.
And I feel like this always happens to PSG, bro.
Yeah.
Like whenever someone's catching form, they get hurt. So I feel bad for him, and hopefully when he comes back, I want to see him do well. So hopefully he can add some value. Herrera also, I've heard, doesn't want to leave. Ironically enough, apparently with the Bruno Guimaraes from Lyon, the midfielder who is potentially getting ready to exit, and rumors are that he's going to go to England. There were rumors today by Get French Football News, and I think even PSG Hub tweeted it, that Lyon had interest in Herrera. They liked his profile. They wanted to bring him in. And then he reposted the story and said fake news on his Instagram. So he killed that, right? Yeah. So Paredes has been in transfer rumors since he got here, and he won't go. So it's tough, man. It's a tough gig. Again, we've said it, right? Leonardo's the one glaring weakness in his ability to be a sporting director is his inability to sell. His inability to negotiate, and players come here on these large salaries, and we're just stuck with them. It's unfortunate, but that's where we are. So you either wait the salaries out, or you convince them, right, to go get game time. I'm not really sure, but yeah, it doesn't seem like anyone's leaving.
I want.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about? I don't know if this is something new or it's always been like this, like players saying that they don't want to leave. Like, since when have they had that leverage? I feel like if the sporting director says that, okay, this makes sense for us, this is what we're gonna do. Has that not always been the case? Like, am I missing something?
I think, it's funny. I don't know when I fully caught on. Like maybe I just wasn't paying attention to transfers like years ago, but the last couple of years, it's definitely been more vocal. And yeah, unlike American sports where it's I won't say the luxury, right? Because I see both sides, right?
Right, right.
It's gotta suck, bro, to like be playing for the Lakers and wake up and see a text and find out that you got traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? And you got to pick up your whole family and move to Ohio, or you're playing for the Yankees and to find out you're going to play for I don't know what team is not great right now. I don't want to offend anybody, right? So I'm just going to throw a team out there, like the Royals, right, or the Rockies or something like. So somewhere you just don't want to be. Whereas in football, right, European football, South American football, it seems that in order for a deal to go through, the player has to put his stamp of approval on it. Talk to the manager, be sold on it, want to move to that place, and yeah, there's that player power in soccer, man. So it's unfortunate. I think PSG is the one team that probably gets hit the hardest, with it, because you just can't get people off your books, and then also because of the fees that we pay people when individuals leave.
And the life, living in Paris. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's the posh life, right? You're playing with Messi, Neymar, Mbappé. Like, who's like, oh, I'm rushing to go to London to play with Tottenham. Yes, listen, I like Tottenham. They're a good team, but yes, Harry Kane is great, but the star power of the players you play with is different, right? When you only have one career, maybe a player like Herrera is already in the twilight of his career where he only has a couple years left. He's like, yo, I'm gonna chill here, eat baguettes and croissants and chill with Messi and Neymar, and go to Neymar's birthday party and chill with Mbappe. So it's just different. I don't agree with it. I think that rule needs to be revised, but to benefit both parties, where, if a certain amount is hit, then, if it's just, I don't know, a way to structure the deal where, hey, like, listen, in their contract, you say, if a team from this league, like, yes, if you don't want to go to Germany or you don't want to go to the Portuguese league or whatever it may be, right, and you want to fight back against that, but maybe saying, you have to include one league here that if a team comes to you and they're in the top half of this league, like a team like Tottenham, right, they're eligible for European football, then you have to be open for a move or something, just to benefit that, teams like PSG and other teams, I'm sure it happens to in England and Spain, you just don't get stuck with dead wood on the wage bill, right, that you can't get rid of, unfortunately. So, but yeah, it definitely sucks. One thing on the flip side of this, right, is I was reading that the newly promoted team in Serie A, Valencia, actually made an approach for Colin Dagba. And I was confused because then I read a report that they made a bid for him to take him on loan, and PSG apparently rejected the bid.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I read. So PSG, bingo. I was confused. So I was going to get your take. Like, do we think it's Leo playing hardball, which he shouldn't, because this is not a strength of his, right? This is not a strength. Don't overstep your boundaries. Or, I was thinking about, okay, we have Hakimi. Do they think that they need Dagba for depth? Like, if Hakimi gets hurt and Dagba's gone, who's next up in line if we do make a run, right? Pembele, he's on loan, he's not there. So, you have Juan Bernat and you have
it's Tilo.
Mendes.
It's got to be Tilo
on the left. Oh, yeah, that is true. It's got to be Tilo. So I wonder if Poch doesn't, have the faith in Tilo, or if he's just like, maybe the way they want to play, he feel like he's gonna need, Dagba there. But definitely found that interesting. That was on PSG Talk, and I think Get French Football News. I could be wrong on the last source, but I definitely know I saw it on PSG Hub. Shout out to them for always providing the sources and the info on PSG. But I was definitely interested in that. And then the one that did go through, apparently, Bayern Leverkusen, Eric Dina Ebimbe. He's going to extend his contract first, and then he's going to go out on loan to the German club with an option to buy as well. So
Nice.
that's really the only business we've done. Again,
I read somewhere there was Kurosawa to Chelsea. I don't know if that had any smoke, but I'm like,
pretty sure Chelsea came out like the next day and like dead at that. I'm pretty
I was
sure
like,
they came out and were like, we're not interested in Kurosawa.
I'm like, bro, if that's true, because I heard he wants to stay at PSG too. I'm like, bro, you better jump at that because you're not gonna get another team at that level wanting you. So yeah, that I saw that somewhere. I didn't know if that had any steam. But as far as that Dagba one, I think it's interesting because I do think the better option there is Tilo Kehrer. I feel like if you watch the last 2-3 matches, Tilo has started on that right side. Yeah, he's played well. He scored 2 goals there. So and even when he's with the German side, he plays like right wing back. So and I think from a defensive aspect, I think Tilo brings more. He's definitely not what Colin provides in terms of explosiveness going forward, but I think Tilo is a good balance for a defensive help, especially with how poor we've been in transitional defense. I think Tilo Kehrer would be the better option there. So again, that further confuses me why they wouldn't let Dagba go, but it's probably something else to that.
Yeah, so we'll see. The last transfer thing I have very interesting. This will definitely divide opinion. So I wish James was here for this one, but today I read, this is from Fabrizio. Never mind. This is not from Fabrizio. This was from, who wrote this? Let's see. Okay, this is from Luis F. Rojo. It was retweeted by PSG Hub. I did see it on another source as well, is that Barcelona have made it clear with Dembele, was very clear with him that, his choices are to accept the current terms or find a new solution. So he has begun looking for an option on the market to leave, and PSG are well positioned and apparently have made contact with his entourage to see what that kind of operation would be like to bring Ousmane Dembele to the park. Again, right, divide opinion. So I want to see what you say. I think I have a unique take on Dembele. I actually like Dembele. I just feel that he's unfortunately been marred by injury. Again, that doesn't mean that I love the idea of him coming to the park, because I have concerns of if he can stay healthy. But I do believe he's someone that with the right coach in the right system, I don't know if he fits that tiki-taka style. If you look at him with France, he plays very direct. He's an interesting player, which if you have the right situation to get the most out of him, left foot, right foot, technical ability, whether they maybe think Mbappé is going to leave, also one of Mbappe's best friends, maybe they see him as an option to replace. I also read today that PSG have made contacts with Raiola or whoever, maybe that's not his manager or his agent, but for Marcus Rashford. I personally think that I would rather have Dembele than Rashford. Yeah. That's just me. Rashford also looks like he's ready to leave Manchester United. It's just not what it was for him. I think he's going through some shit off the pitch as well. So I guess, what are your take on both those players? Again, I don't know how far advanced either of these are, but just from a rumor perspective, do you have a preference, or, are you kind of, I'm all set on both of these guys?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because I like Rashford more. I think he plays in the middle better than he does in the wing, in my opinion. But I think that the Dembele one is interesting because he's such a great player. He's such a fascinating player to watch. But obviously the injuries is the thing. So it's all right. Looking at PSG's roster, outside of Di Maria and Mbappe, we don't really have that many wingers, like true wingers that you can put on a specific side and say, just go kill from that side. Mbappe does it on the left. Di Maria does it on the right. Obviously, Neymar can play wherever, and Messi can play wherever. So I think from that perspective, that Dembele would be a good player to bring on just to add depth, but I don't know about being a starter in this current team. And that's the part where it's just like, if I'm him, why would I, obviously if Barcelona is giving him the sort of the stipulations, like either take this or leave, then you got to do what you got to do. But if I'm him, like, well, I don't know if I would come here if I don't have a surefire like starting position, because I can see him being a good player that we can add like once a because Di Maria is, his time is coming soon, and Dembele would be a good replacement for that. But if we're talking about replacing Dembele for the space that the vacancy that Mbappe can possibly leave, then no, then you're playing yourself, because number one, the productivity is not going to be the same, and then number two, actually this might be the number one, the most important thing, the guy just cannot stay healthy, and whether that's just bad luck or whatever is something he does, I don't know, but he just cannot stay healthy. But when he is healthy, he's a very dynamic player and a very excellent winger. And I go back to if you look at PSG's roster, outside of, and Sarabia is gone now, who else is an actual winger outside of Mbappe and Di Maria? And there is none. So when those guys aren't there, you bring on a Draxler. You can put him on the wing, but he's not going to do winger things. You can bring on Xavi Simons. I think they started Xavi Simons on the right wing one game, but he's not going to do winger stuff. So I think from a depth perspective, Dembele would be a great choice. But in terms of just long term, I don't know about that. And then just as far as Rashford, I don't see Rashford playing outside of England. I just don't. The same thing you said about the South American players not wanting to go to the Premier League. A lot of English players hate playing outside of the Premier League. So I don't know if I would see that one happen. But if I had to choose between the two, I would definitely take Dembele.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think so. Dembele currently makes about 200 to 230 euros a week, I think, or I don't know what what currency they're using, but it's somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And from what I heard is the reason that he has this fallout with Barcelona, as you can see, he posted a thing about not being blackmailed and how Barcelona was putting out all this info about him and what he was demanding. But reports, again, I don't know the validity to this, but reports are saying that he was looking for something like 500 or 600K a week. So he was looking to more than double his weekly wages. And I do remember that, people in his camp and his agent had come out and said something about when he's on form and he's healthy, he's a Ballon d'Or, candidate, and he should be paid as such. And I was like,
I don't know about all that.
I was like, I get the talent. I'll be honest, right? And this is a hot take. Just from what I've seen, it's a hot take, but it's really not, because I would take Mbappe over Dembele any day of the week. That's really because I haven't seen enough. But when they were younger at Dortmund and other places, technically, Dembele is better than Mbappe. He's left foot, right foot, ability to use both feet, dribbling is better. I just think that Mbappe is more consistent, which, again, consistency is the biggest, barometer of success in today's day and age. So, but if he was able to stay healthy and show me something, then maybe I'd say, okay, you know what? Maybe you're right. But, I'm on record on Twitter weeks ago, maybe even a month, 2 months ago, as saying, listen, you're only as good as, as your availability allows you to be. So I wouldn't pay him that much. So if him coming to PSG means that we're going to need to pay him that amount, I wouldn't do it. If we are able to get him and keep him on similar wages and be like, hey, listen, show us something and then we'll talk. I'd see. The only concern I'd have about him is, I've heard a lot of analysts and pundits talk about just, how much is he committed to the game? Does he love the game of football? And you have individuals like that in every sport. But does he love the game of football, or is he just naturally gifted and he kind of just does enough to get by? And then him moving back to France, where he's from, back to Paris, which I believe he's also from Paris as well. Friends, family, getting into, just things and being around people that he shouldn't be. Is he going to be focused? If there's a way to get him on a favorable deal, I think I'd be interested in getting him, because I think it's a high risk, high reward.
Yeah,
right. I
absolutely.
think, especially if Mbappe is going to leave, there is a chance that he could take that next step. He's still young. I think he's still, 23?
Yeah.
Right? Something like that. So there is something interesting there, which I'd be interested to see. And when we speak about strikers, actually, you made a good point. Rashford is probably even though I don't think Rashford is, a world beater, I don't think he's world class. I've, argued this with Man U fans, and people in England have said that he's world class and he's equally as good as Mbappe. Like, I think they're on drugs. Like, he's not, I get it. He scored a couple of goals he scored a couple, clutch goals at the park. I get it. But he's not on the same level or in the same stratosphere as Mbappe. But a player of his profile, player with pace, a player that can finish, if you swap him out right now for Icardi, I think that would be a better fit. I think he's not as good as a finisher as Icardi is, but his profile and pace and the way he would fit in and not slow down the counter and actually play very well into that play style, I think that would be a great swap. That would be interesting, actually, offering an Icardi for Rashford swap deal.
Yeah,
I would do that.
Yeah,
I would call up Manchester United and be like, hey, listen, Icardi, we're going to send you to one of the most prestigious clubs in England. Play with Ronaldo, play with whoever, and see. I don't think he'd bite on that. I think he'll only ever go back to Italy. But I would at least, if I'm Leonardo, I'm at least probing to ask that question to see.
And there's competition in United too, because Cavani's still there, so that'll be something for him to consider.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, that's pretty much it on my end. Is there anything that you've seen or heard? I don't know if you want to talk about AFCON a little bit. We got a couple of boys playing in, the African Cup of Nations. My boy Hakimi scored 2 worldies, absolute worldies. We all saw Kylian tweet that, Hakimi is the best right back in the world. I sent that tweet to one of my good friends who is a diehard Liverpool fan, and he just responded and said, "Bro, I'm not even going to acknowledge this tweet. That Trent is better, and a handful of other folks. I think I've seen someone argue Cancelo, and even what's the buddy that got hurt from Chelsea, Reece James.
Reece James, yeah.
Yeah, so there are a couple of names out there, but Hakimi and Morocco are playing well. Gay, I haven't watched many of his games, but I believe actually that as it currently stands, they're on opposite sides, Senegal and Monaco. So they're on pace right now to play each other.
Yeah, they can meet in the final. Yeah, they can. Yeah, man, the AFCON has been interesting this year. It's been interesting. I've actually watched like almost every game. Unfortunately, my country, Congo, we didn't make it this year, but it's been fun nonetheless to watch. It's been really interesting. There's a lot of underlying things that I've noticed just from just a journalistic standpoint, in terms of just like the crowds not being as full as I would like to see, and that having to do with COVID and travel restrictions and the high ticket prices for people and things of that nature. There's a civil war going on in Cameroon right now. So there's a lot of underlying things going on while the games are being played. I think like 8 people passed away like 2 days ago after a stampede after Cameroon won a match. So it's like off the pitch, it's been just very AFCON. This is so much AFCON. But on the pitch, it's been some great football plays. I've seen some players that I wasn't really familiar with. This guy Vincent Abubakar, who's the striker for Cameroon, dude is a beast. I'm like, why isn't he playing for like a bigger club? He's like somewhere in like the 2nd division of Turkey or something. And then the refereeing has been trash. I don't know if you've seen where the guy ended the game. Like 5 minutes. I'm like, yo, what? This is the problem right here. There's already like a stigma to AFCON and the quality level and stuff like that just doesn't help trying to get over those type of things when we talk about African football, because there's extremely talented players everywhere if you've been watching it. But yeah, it's been fun, and my favorites, Ivory Coast, they just went out. So that's who I had winning it, but I think it's going to come down to Senegal, and I think through the group stages they didn't give up 1 goal, and my guy Abdou Diallo was back there, and Ghana missed the game because of COVID. But
no Messi. I mean, we had that debate start.
Sorry, I was going to show you a clip.
Oh no, you're good.
Have Ed. Ed's gonna have to edit that.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. But yeah, Ghana missed the game due to COVID, but he's been solid for Senegal. So I think just with the teams that are left, I think that Senegal is probably the strongest if you look at them top to bottom. But yeah, it's been fun to watch. A lot of dark horses and teams that you wouldn't expect to get to the quarterfinals are there now. But yeah, good to see Diallo, Gana Gueye, and Hakimi, get this far, and they've all played in every match so far, and they've been integral in their team's wins.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't even realize today that Argentina was playing. I just saw that Di Maria scored an absolute worldie with his left foot, cutting in on the left. So one thing, James isn't here, but I know me and you have spoken about it. So I'm going to play it. That's what I was finding just now is, did you see the other day on Sky Sports when Phil Neville and Jamie Carragher were talking about their team of the year, and Jamie mentioned how Messi had DM'd him?
I heard about that. I didn't see that.
All right, so I have the clip. So the clip, just to give some context for anyone that didn't see it, a couple months back when the Messi and Ronaldo signings happened, Jamie Carragher was arguing with Phil Neville about who'd be more effective, and Phil Neville was saying Ronaldo, and basically Jamie was of the stance that PSG this year isn't any better with Messi than they were without him. Same with Man United. He believes that they're out of their prime. But the other day he was on the show and he addressed it and confirmed it. So it's a funny clip. So I'll play it.
I mean, we had that debate at the start of the season, didn't we? Ronaldo or Messi? I was the Messi man. He was Ronaldo. But unfortunately, even though he's not happy with you, Messi, is it? No, he's not happy with me at all. Why? I had a little pop at Ronaldo early this season. I didn't think it was a great signing for United. And then I said the example of Messi. I didn't think Messi's a great signing for PSG. And I've always really,
It was on Monday Night Football, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on Monday Night Football. And I got a private message on Instagram.
From the man himself?
From the man himself. I will not be showing private messages, but he basically called me a donkey.
Dude said Messi called him, private DM'd him, and just called him a donkey, bro.
No, is that real?
He said, it's a real video. That's not a clip. That's I actually watched that on Sky Sports. That was on Sky Sports on live TV. I watched it. They were in coach. They were picking their team of the year, and it stemmed from him saying that he didn't have Messi in his team of the year, for various reasons. And he said it. Apparently he's not happy with me, and I received a private message from the man himself, and he's like, I'm not gonna share what he said. He was like, but the gist of it is that he called me a donkey.
He called that man a jackass, essentially.
Yep, that's basically what he did. So Messi peeped everything, Doug.
Yeah. So that's why it's so funny to me. That's why I'm like, is that real? Because I feel like we've never heard Messi come out of his character in that way, and then for that to be relatively something small, I'm pretty sure other people have criticized him for worse things and said worse things, and I don't know if he's ever DM'd them. But I guess we'll see if other people have been getting DMs from Messi. Apparently, he be watching.
It just shows you, right, that and this happens in all sports, but it shows you that these players listen to what is said. They pay attention, or if they're not directly watching, it's someone that in their circle or entourage is sending them clips. And it ties back to the Neymar documentary. The entire documentary, there was just clips from ESPN, from Craig Burley to Jon Laurent to I didn't hear him, but they should have clipped Stevie Nicol. Shaka Islop was in there. Then you have a bunch of people from Sky Sports and other platforms in the UK just talking. So whether it was him or not, these sayings are getting back to him, right? Yeah. These players are making mental notes of who's saying what, and you're not above them, lashing back out to you, right? So these are grown men at the end of the day, right? So it's you can talk about them however you want, criticize his move. You don't know this man. You don't know why he made this move. You don't know what he's doing. So, no, but I wanted to end on that note. I thought that was a funny clip. I knew you guys would enjoy it. I laughed when I heard it. So
I feel like Messi has been watching Jamie Carragher's takes, and he has some pretty awful takes. If you watch Jamie Carragher, talk about football, and that was probably the one that was like, all right, I gotta say something. Like, I gotta let him know he's a jackass, like, cause he taking it too far.
The one Jamie take that I agree with was one of the most recent ones when we played against Man City. They just asked him, do you think this team can win the Champions League? And he said no. He said, but the reason I feel that way is I just feel that it could be done years ago, but in today's game, you can't win the Champions League carrying 3 players, right? It's like if it was one player, that's not tracking back. He was like, yes, they can score against anybody. He was like, but I feel like when you get to the upper echelon of the competition, if you have 3 players up top and none of them are tracking back and you're consistently defending with 7 against 9 or whatever it may be, that you're going to get outscored. He's like, so either some of them are going to have to track back, change their system. He's like, but from what he basically saw in that match, he didn't feel. And I'll be honest, I feel the same way. I just feel that the structure instead of the team currently isn't conducive to the ultimate goal of winning the Champions League. I'm very interested to see, how this match goes against Real Madrid. I know we didn't talk about it a lot this match. I mean, it's this pod. We'll probably save that for the next pod just because we're going over a little bit, but we're going to see, right? We're going to see a team that is playing well, that has, high quality finishers and world-class players. And we're going to see if the defense stands up or, if the times that we've been cut open on the counter in league play and in the Champions League against clubs like Bruges and, RB Leipzig, if, that is our downfall, so it should be interesting. But on that note, I'm going to bring this to an end. It has been fantastic, guys, getting back to hang out with you, Jay. This feels comfortable. It feels good to be back. We're just missing James, but he will be back. But it's good to come back and talk footy and just, kind of put some content out for our PSG fans. As you guys always know, follow PSG Talk, follow 24th and Park, engage with us. Let us know what you like, what you dislike, what you want to hear. We appreciate the feedback. But, on that note, until next time, stay safe, stay well. Peace out.